You're now listening to the Insight BBL Show with your hosts, Brain and Horse.
G'day, guys. Welcome back. You're watching another Insight BBL Show, another team preview coming your way, another Insight Mini. I'm whacking these out, sub 20 minutes, getting you the content you need to see in the BBL preseason. Horse, how are you, mate? You well?
Yeah, going well, mate. 2 teams down, 6 to go. So let's get into the Canes.
Absolutely. Hurricanes are on the menu today. We'll talk you through all the guns, the value, the cheapies, the guys we're fading this year. We'll talk about what the squad looks like as well with the ins and outs and give you our predicted round of best 11 for round 1. Now, let's move into the start of things. The ins for the Hurricanes now, they've got obviously West Indian wicketkeeper and captain Shai Hope, which I think is huge for them this year. Really good draft pick for them. They've obviously got Charlie Wakeham as well. He's come across from the Heat, and they've got Jake Doran, who is probably likely to be maybe a third string backup wicketkeeper. There is a bit of relevance to him as well, Horse, but we'll talk about him later.
Absolutely. Really liking that. The outs, Corey Anderson, the Kiwi, Sam Hain remains unsigned. Liam Guthrie and Sam Heaslett has also been let go.
Yeah, I mean, Corey Anderson and Sam Hain are the interesting ones where, you know, they obviously got drafted last year and they kind of played that middle order role. Corey Anderson bowled his left armers and he filled a role for him last year, but obviously no interest this year. Ricky Ponting was really high on Sam Hain, wasn't he, as well last year? So
really high, and I feel like he's let him down.
He has for sure. But there is some things to be excited about with the Hobart Hurricanes. I'll tell you what the first thing is to not be excited about, though, their draw. It sucks.
It's disgusting, isn't it? 2 years in a row.
They don't have a double until round 8. They've got the last double. So I'm sure we're going to probably be getting a few of these guys in that we're talking about today, but we won't be doing it for a while, unfortunately. There's just not enough value there to be picking any of these guys. And also, unfortunately, the Canes have been pretty poor, haven't they?
Unfortunately, yes. Do I see a bounce back season? To a degree, yes, but probably will be just short of finals.
Yeah, I think so, mate. Let's move into our predicted 11 for round 1. Of course, we've got Shai Hope. Unfortunately, he'll be missing round 1 due to international duties for the West Indies. So we could probably see a bit of a smoky here in Charlie Wakeham come in and bat at 4 for them to start. But let's start at the top, mate. Matty Wade should take the gloves with Shai Hope out. We've got Ben McDermott up top, mate. These guys have batted together up top for the Canes for a while now. I don't see that changing this year.
No, I don't think so. Caleb Jewell underrated at number 3. As you just said, Wakim at 4. Tim David at 5, who really had a down year last year. We'll be talking about him later. Nikhil Chowdhury, who is our 39K sensation, or our cheap option last year, who came up trumps for us, or for those that had him. Chris Jordan at 7, the premier all-rounder in this team. Nathan Ellis, the death bowler himself, at 8. Paddy Dooley, after a 67 average 2 years ago, 33, 29? I can't remember exactly what it was last year, but had a real down year. Peter Hatsoglu, the wrist spinner, at 10, and Riley Meredith, who bowls absolute gas, at 11.
Yeah, I mean, it's also, there's guys like Billy Stanlake that aren't getting a run in this squad. It's very interesting to see how this shapes out. I'm not 100% sure on whether Peter Hatsoglu as an extra spinner would be required here with Rashad Hussain. We forgot to mention, unfortunately, was drafted for the Canes, but hasn't been released by his Bangladesh Premier League team. So he won't be seeing any BBL cricket this year, unfortunately. So, yeah, another Hurricanes draft pick goes bust.
Ouch.
But some guns in this team, mate. Specifically, 2 guys that I'll be looking at when the Hurricanes go on their double will be Shai Hope. And he's just hit 200s in a row for the West Indies, I think, in one-day cricket. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's in incredible touch.
He looks unreal. He will quickly become a crowd favourite down there in Hobart.
Definitely, I think so. 152K's import price, priced at a 50 for all of the imports, the platinum round 1 draft picks. So that could be unders, honestly. I think he could probably provide more value there, but he's definitely considered probably the best player in this team.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty close is Chris Jordan.
Yeah. Alongside Chris Jordan for me. Chris Jordan just fills a lot of roles. He's a good fielder. He's got a good arm, bowls death, and can swing the stick. We saw that we made some runs last year as well.
Yeah, he did. And he's always the guy that everyone is picking whenever the Canes have a double. It doesn't matter when it is. The first guy you get in the team is Chris Jordan. Just, again, the role. We talked about him in fielding in really good spots as well. He's usually the guy that's a deep long on or deep cow or deep mid off. So deep long off, I should say. So he's the guy that is getting those fielding points as well as bowling death overs with Nathan Ellis. And, you can't really ask for much more than a death bowler that bats at 8. It's kind of like a bit of a Daniel Sams light, really, isn't it?
Yes, spot on. And I don't think anything changes this year. I think come round 8 double, he's the one that we're looking at.
I think he'll be definitely the guy we'll be getting in. What about the value across the board, mate? Do you think anybody's cheap enough that we could probably get a bit of cash and points from them?
Look, I think there's 3 options. Number one, Nathan Ellis, 112K. We've seen that he's opened the bowling for Australia in T20s before, also bowled death. He's quite a good death bowler. At 112K, I feel like that's unders, Nate.
Yeah, look, he's also another guy that we always pick on the double, isn't he? The role's secure. He was the captain at different points last year as well. Matt Wade missed a lot of time and has relinquished the captaincy for the most part. And Nathan Ellis is the guy now in this team. So, he's hard to pass up, and especially at this price. Like, I think let's just flip the scenario here and say the Canes had a round 1 double, right? I reckon you'd probably own 4 or 5 of these guys comfortably.
100%.
Hope, Jordan, Ellis are fantastic options. Tim David also, professional T20, countryman, I guess you could call it. He's, loves to travel around the world now and just play T20s. 72K for a guy that can hit the ball like he can is kind of like a free swing.
He's probably one of the biggest hitters of the ball I've ever seen. 2 years ago, he averaged 51, Nathan. He's priced at a 24 at the moment.
Yeah, there you go. So 51 technically would be around the 155K mark if we're talking value. So basically he's half of what his potential value could be. And we're seeing a lot of that from a lot of these players, a lot of the guys last year that had stinkers or had really shit years. And luckily enough for us as super coaches, we get them at a severe discount this year. So you just got to find the right ones that are down on price and hope that they find or regather that form from last season or 2 seasons ago. And speaking of that, mate, Paddy Dooley is probably one of those guys that puts his hand up as a guy that's half of what he's worth at the moment.
2 years ago, again, he averaged 64.4 Supercoach points per game. He's priced at a 29 at the moment. If he can recapture some of that form, this is bargain price for the spinner.
Absolutely. He was the guy that everyone must have 2 years ago. And, some of us took a risk at the start of last season and picked him, even though he didn't have doubles and it didn't really work out schedule-wise. But he's definitely another guy we could free up. The problem with this is these kind of mid-range guys, like your 88Ks, we'll talk about the Renegades soon, but there's 2 guys really standing out in Adam Zampa and Kane Richardson there in that lineup. You've got to choose between a Zampa and Richardson international standard cricketers on the double versus Paddy Dooley on a single. It just... Unfortunately, the schedule's really cucked him there.
Yes.
Otherwise, he'd probably be 50% owned.
That's right.
Let's move into the cheapies, mate. We've got 2 39K guys and a 58K guy. Now, obviously, this first 39K guy in Jake Doran won't play unless there's injuries to Matt Wade, Ben McDermott, Shai Hope. I'd say he's the 4th wicketkeeper in line, Jake Doran, as good as he is. But he provides a wicketkeeper loop option as a non-player, doesn't he?
Oh, we love that, don't we? And it gives us almost a free swing for those that want to start with Harper in round 1, game 1 to see how he goes. If Harper scores well, you can have Doran on field and take Harper's score and not bust the bank. He can work in a variety of ways for you.
Removes the risk of Sam Harper, or it doesn't remove the risk, but it dissipates the risk, I guess, in a way to, if Harper does shit the bed in game 1 and you don't really want to risk backing him in game 2 on that double, you can then shuffle a few things around, get another wicketkeeper in to start there. So it does provide that flexibility for you. But yeah, I think this year is with the flex as well, having the extra position in our roster and having 17 players potentially instead of 16, it does allow you to probably have one extra loop and not really sacrifice much cash generation across the rest of your squad. So in the past, it was really tough to run with too many loops because you wanted to still make money. You're not making money out of players that won't play. But this year, I think you got a bit more movement there. Who are we looking at second, mate?
I really like the looks of Mitch Owen. So he's 58.5K. In the last couple of weeks, he's made a 69 and an 85 as a specialist bowler for Tasmania. He's bowling well without having much luck as well. Potentially early on, he may get a look in. If he does, I'll definitely consider him at 58.5K. But
you'd have to see a lot go his way, though, wouldn't you? Injury-wise, maybe one of his top frontline bowlers gets injured or something like that. Maybe he's probably first in line to come into this squad, but it's hard to see him start, unfortunately. I mean, hopefully he does.
I really like the looks of this next guy that you've got here, mate.
Yeah, Charlie Wakeham, obviously across from the Brisbane Heat, Queenslander, getting an opportunity to go down south to Hobart. With Shai Hope playing international cricket to start for the West Indies, it does present an opportunity for one of these guys to come into the squad, and I think it might be Charlie Wakeham. He's played well at Shield level, more known as more of a Shield batsman than a T20 or short form player, but I think there's every chance that we could see an opportunity for him moving forward. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't mind it. As you just said, he's not a big striker of the ball. He's more of an accumulator of runs. But if the Hobart top order shit the bed a little bit, he's going to be that rock that can just get you through an inning. So I actually don't mind it.
I think and maybe the first thing that a lot of people will be thinking will be, well, what about Mac Wright? Because this would have been Mac Wright's opportunity. He was good in sections last year, but unfortunately he's still recovering from an ACL. There's still every chance that he's going to miss probably the first half of the BBL campaign. So it would be him, but I think next man in line would be Charlie Wakeham. So hopefully he takes his opportunity. But again, it's only one game before Shai Hope comes back in. So I wouldn't say that he is an option unless you're looking for someone who might get you runs or might get you some form of production in round one and then disappears into a loop option. In saying that, I still want my loophole to be a dual position player. So it kind of rules him out somewhat. But there's one player in this list, mate, that hurts us every year. He's always a guy that teases us a little bit. And a lot of people bring him in when the Hurricanes have a double. Talk us through why we shouldn't.
Why we should or why we shouldn't?
Why we shouldn't.
Too inconsistent. He's a good keeper and all, but with the stick, it's either 50, 80 or 0. Like there's no in between. There's no consistencies in scores with Matthew Wade. So it's a big no from me.
Yeah, I think unfortunately Matt Wade, maybe Father Time's catching up with him a little bit. I think he's probably got a couple of seasons left at best. Where I'm looking back at his previous seasons, and you know what? He has never really been a productive Supercoach scorer since 2020. So 51 in 6 games last year. And then his averages are 43, 41, 46 the 3 years before that. He's just not a guy, unfortunately, that we're going to get much production from. And I know that being the wicketkeeper is handy to have. We've talked about the advantage of having a wicketkeeper in your squad that gets the extra fielding points, but I don't even know whether he keeps this year with Shai Hope.
Would you rather Josh Inglis or Matthew Wade at the same price?
Oh, please. Craziness. Absolute craziness. Josh Inglis is a lock compared to Matt Wade.
Right.
So, yeah, definitely a fade. Wade the fade. We'll leave it at that.
Yes.
Guys, that is the Hurricanes. Unfortunately, their schedule kind of backs them into a corner a little bit. We won't be looking at too many of these guys, aside from potentially those value picks in Dooley and David maybe to start the season, but plenty of other value elsewhere. We'll be talking about them a lot more come their round 8 double horse.
Yeah, spot on.
Guys, show, as always, brought to you by Ryan from Astute Newstead and the Standard Squeeze. All their links are below in the description. Hit that subscribe and like and follow and 5-star review and all that kind of stuff if you love this show and you would like to support us. Jump in, become a Patreon member and get exclusive access to us. We're doing individual write-ups and different stuff that we won't be posting on social media, so it is quite exclusive content coming from there. If you want to support the show, we would appreciate that. But regardless, tons more content coming your way. We've got the Renegades coming up next for team previews, and it's a doozy. It's a real big one, so we will catch you then for that.
Yeah, before we finish, mate, how do people enter the BBL Patreon?
Oh, good question. Well, they can go to the patreon.com/insightfantasysports, and they can click the link, and then there's options there. So basically, you've got all the sports there. If you want to become just a BBL member, it only costs $5.95 a month. It's like $1.50 a week less. Or if you want access to the NBL and then also the NRL and the AFL next year as well, you can pay for the Insight Unlimited membership, which is only like $12.95 a month. So stack them all up. You get full access to us. That's how you do it, Horse.
That's right. Beautiful thing.
Love it. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We will see you next time for the Renegades preview. Catch you then.